Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Gamecast. I'm James, and tonight I will be reviewing Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds for the Nintendo 2DS and 3DS. Like many of you, The Legend of Zelda holds a special place in my heart and on my chest, and like many of you, and the entire internet, when they announced a sequel to A Link to the Past, and they gave you the little choice a while ago at E3, between a Majora's Mask remake or a sequel to Link to the Past. A lot of people split. I wanted both to come out, and I still want both to come out, but I'm very happy that A Link Between Worlds came out when it did, because it brought me back to that Link to the Past feel, the top-down action-adventure RPGs of the late 1980s and the early 1990s. It brings that feel into the modern gaming that you don't get very much anymore unless you play MOBAs or your RTSs. And the cool thing about The Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds is if you take your Nintendo's Player Hand Guide from Link to the Past, you can actually use the map still for this game. There are some variations. They did tweak some things and change some things, obviously, between the Dark World and Lorule, which is the new world in this game. But the fact that you can still use it, and it's like 100 years later, is really cool in my opinion. Now, with all of that being said, I jumped on the hype train a little bit, just a little, and I went out and I bought a 3DS XL for it. I don't actually use this, it's still actually in the box. It's just a collector's item at this point. I mean, I have no intentions of actually using it, but it's just nice to have along with my Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time 3DS. With that, I also got the strategy guide, which is a nice hardcover book. Tells you all the ins and outs that you need to know, but if you're a Zelda fan, you want to find them out for yourself. So really, the spine hasn't been broken on this book. It literally just sits on my shelves next to my other hardcover books. I loved this edition so much. I loved this game so much that I pre-ordered it from Game UK, and as many of you might know, I don't live in the UK, so I have a PAL version of the game just sitting in the case because it came with a specialty chest. The chest has 5 slots in it that will hold Nintendo 3DS games. Now, if you're a big Legend of Zelda fan like I am, and you haven't had a chance to play Link to the Past, I would highly suggest picking up Link Between Worlds for your 3DS, because they have not, unfortunately, released Link to the Past on the 3DS. They do have it on the Wii U and the Wii Virtual Console, but not very many people have them. Unfortunately, it is kind of difficult to come across like a NES cartridge, and I'm not really the biggest fan of emulators. So, to get your fix of Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, or to try it, just play this game. It is honestly, it is a close second to the original game that came out, and it does the game justice as a sequel. Obviously, you still play as Link, you play as a different incarnation of him, as you do in every single one of these games, but it is honestly a fantastic piece of gaming, and the soundtrack, the graphics, it runs at 60 frames per second throughout the majority of it. Obviously, there are a little bit of frame rate issues, but you don't really notice it. You get your initial spin attack, which is fantastic, and stick with me here, it is one of the first Zelda games to come out in a while that is non-linear, meaning you can go from point A to point like D, then to point J, then to point E, then to point B. And you can beat the game that way. It is not the structured, linear Zelda game that most of us knew from Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask to Wind Waker to Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess. It is too much like that. If you are looking for a good action-adventure RPG and you didn't get a chance to play the Super NES one, I would highly suggest picking up A Link Between Worlds. Honestly, a fantastic title, and it would be good to have in anybody's game collection as long as you have, the Nintendo 2DS, 3DS. Personally, I'm going to say I'd have to give Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds a 5 rupees out of 5, and I mean, it's just a fantastic game. Thank you for joining me on this review of Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds. If you like the review, subscribe below. or you can comment on the video and tell us what you thought about the game itself. You can also follow us on Twitter if you would like to keep up to date with the reviews and webisodes that we will be coming out with. Have a nice night.